Hey guys, welcome back to another miniature showcase. This time it's slightly different. I'm actually going to be recording on my gaming mat because I have a miniature that I wanted to fully show off. It is, in my humble opinion, a golden rail miniature for Oldhammer. What I mean by that, it's not so hard to find, but at the same time, it is something that if you do appreciate Oldhammer and you love dragons, you definitely have to hunt this miniature down. What I am talking about is the Citadel Great Spined Dragon, sculpted by Nick Bibby. So let me carefully unwrap it from the bubble wrap, and after I do that, I'll share with you guys the whole miniature. So we got, and you can just see the size of it. So I'm a small dude, but just one wing takes the length of my whole hand, which is quite impressive. Here's the second wing. And again, beautifully sculpted. And once I get all the pieces out, I'll talk more about this amazing miniature, the history of it a bit, and why I think it is the best miniature produced by Citadel. And look how long the tail is. Simply amazing. And only issue now is storage purposes. Let's open this one. Here's the main body, very chunky. And the last package would be the head and the foot. So let me put all the pieces together and start talking about this lovely Oldhammer miniature. And guys, here is the full dragon in all of its glory. You're gonna laugh, but when I first opened up the package he came in, I was a little taken aback. To give you guys perspective, even right now, I'm still a little jittery. I know it's a little bit embarrassing to say that over a miniature, but I've known about the Great Spine Drake since I was most likely in 6th grade, and that's how long I've been yearning for this miniature. I've seen him in a lot of the old white dwarfs. I know he was used for a couple of golden demons, and just any iconic Oldhammer miniature. I'm sure you've seen the one where it was one of the artists put a Nurgle sorcerer on top, and he had written on the plinth a plague dragon. That was my first time seeing this miniature. Before I go more into that, this beautiful model was sculpted by the great Nick Bibby. He also sculpted the Chaos Dragon Ogre Shaggoth that I gave to my friend Jarrett, and you can tell it was him because he has his beautiful signature written all over the miniature. And this miniature was produced in 1984 and 85, and his interpretation of it was meant to be a realistic dragon. And what I mean by that is, during the time of Citadel, a lot of the dragons were a little bit, or not a little bit, if you know Oldhammer, a lot of the dragons are cartoony, small. The wings are actually quite small. What Nick Bibby went out to do was create a model that is quote-unquote anatomically correct and basically realistic. Now that is not possible because it's a dragon, but you get the point, and you can already see that conveyed in the pose of the miniature. It looks so organic, and let me zoom in. So let's look at the main torso, and again, this thing is a giant slab of most likely lead and pewter, but look at the pose of the hands, and one distinct detail is most dragons don't have this almost like a rooster or like a bird type claw hand, and the pose is so organic. This just reeks of Nick Bibby's sculpting prowess, and you can see that in how well he gets the muscle texture before even you see the spines, the scales, and everything about it. When I was working on the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, it took a long time because when I cut the model to match his anatomical sculpting was quite a challenge. Everything looks so natural and you can see the hand wrapping around. So just this piece alone is breathtaking. Then when you have the tail, I'd say this is one of the first dragons that honestly looks realistic in the sense that the tail would be like a counterweight. So, like you know in real life, a lot of animals have a tail for balancing purposes. Look how thick and long the tail is on this dragon. And again, this is easily 8 inches in length, maybe 6 to 8, but this is quite a huge model. Let me grab one of my Saracens, and you can see now the magnitude and the scale of this amazing miniature. I wouldn't even call this a miniature. I would call this a mini statue. And with the tail, you can start seeing his beautiful texture and all of the spines he managed to get going down the whole length. The metal is quite soft, so I don't want to play with it too much, but you can just see the amazing texture work on this tail. If it focuses a bit, yeah. And all the paint jobs I've seen of the Great Spine Dragon, almost all of them have been flawless. I think that's mainly due to this miniature is, I think, the gold standard and defines what a old hammer dragon should be. I know a lot of people would maybe disagree, saying, oh, that's just because it's this miniature, or that's what everyone says. I think even though if you want to be a hipster and go against the grain, you can disagree, but once you hold the miniature in your hand and you compare it to every other dragon produced by Games Workshop during this time, this just stands completely out of league from the rest. And I think you can tell from my voice and praising, this miniature really just commands the respect it deserves. And I think one part that really gets a lot of people talking is the face. So let me zoom in. Just the way he sculpted the eyes and the whole pose of this face, it really does look like a real living creature. You can see with that sinister grin he has and the way he just angled the brows and the face, you can see some malice and intelligence behind this great drake, this dragon. And not only that, it does look like a crocodile head a little bit. You know, you can see a lot of love and effort was put into ensuring that this miniature looks as realistic, you know, as much as you can for Warhammer. And even underneath, you can see all of the beautiful like folds under the chin and the neck. This may be a little contentious, but I do think Nick Bibby was, if not the best sculptor on Citadel, and I think this piece speaks volume. Now this other piece here is his leg. It goes actually on this side, and oh, you can hear the weight of it hit the table. And this thing is just awesome. It's huge. And now the part I want to show are the wings. This is a very distinct feature of the Great Spined Drake. There are no membranes, and this is what posed the challenge. Let me zoom out a little bit. The challenge was you're supposed to create your own membrane, and in the original instructions, they break down how you could attempt to put it on. They explain where you can glue the points for contact and put paper or cloth. I know a lot of people have done different things. Some people have used, I believe, wet paper towel with PVA and put it across. I've seen people sculpt it manually. I've seen people put paper in, but this already proved a modeling challenge to a lot of people, as you know, it's a lot of work to fill it in. I've seen a couple leave it completely blank and make it an undead dragon, which is equally as cool. But once you put it on to this Nick Baby model, I can't even get it in my little camera frame. Um, Once all the wings are attached, let me lift up the camera. Um, this guy is just enormous. And imagine now with the membranes fully sculpted, it would cast a huge shadow. I'd say from wingspan to wingspan, it nearly is a foot. And it is honestly majestic looking. But yeah, back to the brief history a bit more. So it was produced in 1984-85. Price-wise, I don't know how much it was. If you're gonna get this on the secondhand market, be prepared to pay a pretty penny. And this is one of the few miniatures where, unless of course they're asking for nearly $1,000, I wouldn't pay it. But for any price between, I'd say, 200 to 400, I'd pay. This model is enormous. I can already see when you glue him onto your base, there's going to be so much overhang. Even in the old world, if I were to mount this dragon on the 100 by 150 millimeter base, there would still be, the model would still overhang. So this model is just huge. And again, Nick Bibby, this is, I think, his masterpiece, his magnus opus, in my humble opinion. And I think Jarrett can attest when he painted the Nick Bibby Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. His work has so much love and detail put into it. You could spend hours painting this. And pretty much, I am not going to paint this for a while. I want to take my full time and attention ensuring the basing is proper, ensuring everything is pinned in, and I want everything to be as perfect as possible because I think this will be the only time I buy this miniature. I think this is one of the miniatures where, if possible, I will not want to convert at all. Depending on if I want to put a rider on top, it'll have to be thoroughly thought of because I think owning more than one would be very selfish. I think this miniature deserves to be actually collected by the wider community, and owning one is more than enough. Having two, I would think, is very selfish. Another hobbyist would love to try their hand at modeling and painting this honestly beautiful sculpt. And I know this whole video has been me basically glazing and preaching about the beauty of this miniature, but I think you guys can see on camera, this thing is huge. It just bleeds old Hammer, but at the same time, this would fit into any modern game for how well it's sculpted, the dimensions of it, and even the character. Everything about this miniature feels like just like a gold perfect standard. So again, sorry about that long-winded rant about the history of it. It is just a model that I have been looking for far too long, and I'm very gracious to have one that is in very good condition. Not a lick of paint on him. It looks like it hasn't been touched since it was opened from the package. The metal is a little bit, discolored, but I can live with that. It's it's not a big deal. But this is again Nick Bibby's beautiful masterpiece. It is the Great Spined Dragon. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick rant slash miniature showcase. I wanted to put him on this big felt table because I think my dinky little paint station would distract a little bit just from this amazing sculpt. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I have a couple more miniature showcases to share just because I've noticed my collection is getting larger and larger, and I better start sharing a bit more of the history of each model and allow other collectors to see some ranges they didn't know existed. So until then, guys, I hope you enjoyed this talk about my favorite dragon miniature of all time.